boxing news. Okay, we'll start with this. Dina Thorslund posted this via her social media account. Two-division WBO bantamweight champion Dina Thorslund, who tagged Matchroom and said, "You have two champions. Surely one will want to unify." Which is true. They've got Ebony Bridges holding the IBF. And even though Jamie Mitchell isn't an according to Hoyle Matchroom fighter, they don't necessarily have her under contract, she is by all rights over there, waiting for this Shannon Courtenay rematch to take place. The story was Shannon's supposed to come back in an easy one. She's supposed to come back in an 8-rounder or something like that. Last I heard, Shannon Courtenay isn't going to be having that rematch with Jamie Mitchell straight away. Jamie Mitchell, who has seen action at least once since having pried the WBA title away from Shannon Courtenay, she knocked out Carly Thumpaskelly. She's been in limbo ever since. I don't know what's going on. Now, Ebony Bridges, this division's newly crowned reigning IBF champion, she's talking unifications. She's saying she wants to become this division's undisputed champion. And it just so happens that Dina Thorslund is the number 2 ranked fighter in all of the 118-pound division. Number 1 and number 2 are split between Mexico's own Yulihan Luna, this division's reigning WBC champion, who was in action not that long ago, and Dina Thorslund. I don't hear much in terms of unifications from Mexico's own Yulihan Luna. She doesn't really broach the subject much. But Ebony Bridges does, and that's what she's talking about. I spoke to Ebony Bridges very recently, and she let it be known that that's her plan. They're going to get her out there, likely, in a voluntary title defense, and proceed to make a unification match with one of the other 3 champions at this weight. Jamie Mitchell's got the WBA, Dina Thorslund's got the WBO, and Yulihan Luna's got the WBC. So why not do a fight between Dina Thorslund and Jamie Mitchell in order to build the potential unification match with Ebony Bridges? I think that's a solid plan, because it's not like Shannon Courtenay's about to fight Jamie straight away. The plan is to get Shannon in a 6-rounder or an 8-rounder or something like that. I don't think it's fair that Jamie Mitchell just sit on the shelf waiting for Shannon. She's a very capable fighter and a strong puncher, but she's not getting any younger. She's on the older end of the spectrum as far as the champions at this weight go. She's actually the oldest of the 4 champions in today's bantamweight division, and she needs big fights. She needs big opportunities. So if Dina Thorslund is calling out Matchroom for a unification match, why not make one between her and Jamie Mitchell? And let the winner of that fight go on to take on Ebony Bridges. On this kind of timeline, you do the voluntary defense for Ebony, whilst Jamie Mitchell takes on Dina Thorslund, and the winner of that fight moves on to the Bridges fight. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Some curious candor from the reigning IBF champion Ebony Bridges, who stated she views Dina Thorslund as being more beatable, even than Jamie Mitchell. I don't necessarily agree with that contention. I view Dina Thorslund as this division's apex predator. It's actually split between her and Yulihan Luna. Those are the 2 more experienced champions, experienced fighters at this weight. Yulihan Luna is a 2-time champion, as is Dina Thorslund. She's a 2-division champion. She was champion up there at 122 pounds, subsequently moved down to 118 pounds, and her power carried. Yeah, it came down with her. And as funny as this might sound, in spite of Yulihan Luna and Dina Thorslund being more experienced fighters and more experienced champions than either Jamie Mitchell or Ebony Bridges, they also happen to be younger than Jamie Mitchell and Ebony Bridges. Both Yulihan Luna and Dina Thorslund, they're still in their 20s. They're in their prime years. Those things in mind, and that being said, there's no shortage of talent in the 118-pound division, not even exclusive to the titleists, the champions. There are also the challengers. Challengers like Canada's own McKenna Tansley, Australia's own Shotgun Shannon O'Connell, America's own Melissa Odessa Parker. Unbeaten fighters like Rosalinda Rodriguez. This really is a talent-rich division, and a major outfit like a Matchroom surely should be able to put together unification matches that consolidate the alphabet titles and put the fighters in big fights, in big situations. I see no reason they can't make Mitchell versus... They should be able to make Mitchell versus Thorslund in order to build the winner of that fight versus Bridges. Dina Thorslund seems to want it. What does Jamie Mitchell want? As we haven't heard all that much from her. She's a very capable fighter, but I reiterate, she's not getting any younger. She is the oldest of the 4 reigning champions at this weight, and time is of the essence. Time waits for no man or woman. Matchroom needs to get moving on this, because it's starting to feel like 118 pounds is stagnating. And this is a talent-rich division with a lot of champions and a lot of challengers, a lot of fights you can make. Thorslund versus Mitchell is just one among them. In men's heavyweight news, per tweet from Michael Benson, Eddie Hearn has confirmed to reporters that Alexander Usyk versus Anthony Joshua rematch is the last fight on his co-promotional deal with Usyk. Usyk also promoted by K2, but win or lose will emerge from August 20th as one of the biggest broadcast free agents in boxing. And if Alexander Usyk ends up beating Anthony Joshua the way that many people expect him to, and if he leaves Matchroom as a free agent, that really is a loss for Matchroom, and they will have effectively lost their grip on 3 of the 4 major alphabet titles in this division. Try and understand that even if Usyk is not the same draw that Anthony Joshua was, you want to keep that guy on your side of the street because it still funnels all the fighters and all the action to you and your platform. But if a Daniel Dubois, or a Joe Joyce, or a Robert Helenius, or a Huey Fury, a Michael Hunter, if any one of these guys want a shot at either the IBF, WBO, or WBA titles, they're going to have to come to your platform to get it. And the value of that is in the content it creates. But if you lose Usyk to, say, Top Rank or somebody, well, you ain't gonna have the inside track on the heavyweight division no more. Not if Alexander Usyk takes his business elsewhere, and he might. At this time, there's a proliferation of mandatory challengers waiting for their shot at Alexander Usyk. Filip Hrgovic is supposed to be taking on China's own Zhilei Zhang by way of the IBF to become that sanctioning body's mandatory challenger. Daniel Dubois is in position by way of the WBA, and Joe Joyce is in position by way of the WBO. These guys are all waiting for the winner of Joshua versus Usyk too. And it's not a loss or a complete loss for Matchroom if Anthony Joshua loses, so long as they can stay in the Usyk business. Because if they stay in the Usyk business, then they've got those titles on their side of the street. They can funnel all of that content to their platform. Now, if by some chance Anthony Joshua proves the naysayers wrong, we know where the home of his fights are supposed to be moving forward. It's supposed to be exclusively on DAZN, though the real value of that, it's only if he wins. No, if he wins, he's the A-side to all of those guys. He's the A-side to Daniel Dubois. Joe Joyce, the winner of Zhilei Zhang versus Filip Hrgovic. He's easily the A-side to all of those fighters, and they would have to acquiesce in order to get a fight with him. I think that goes without saying, though I reiterate, that's only if he beats the odds. That's only if he proves the naysayers wrong, and he wins, and he gets those belts back. Most people don't think he can. Most people don't think he will. And if their predictions stick and Alexander Usyk beats Anthony Joshua for a second time, well, there goes Matchroom's stronghold on the heavyweight division and all the action there. Because there's a strong possibility that the Usyk people might look to do business with Top Rank moving forward. It being that, well, Top Rank fighter just so happens to have the last missing puzzle piece to the heavyweight puzzle, the retired Tyson Fury, who's still hanging on to that green belt. He's still hanging on to that WBC title. A lot of people feel if Usyk wins that fight, it's not a guarantee that Tyson Fury comes out of retirement, as the financial incentive to fight Usyk is not big as the financial incentive to fight Anthony Joshua. He's still doubling down on those retirement claims. He still claims he's not coming back. I don't presume to know what it is Tyson Fury's going to do beyond the Joshua versus Usyk rematch. I don't know that he will come out of retirement. I don't know that he won't. But what I do know is the Usyk people, they still want to become undisputed champions at this weight. They've got their sights set on Tyson Fury's green belt. And it's for that reason they might decide to leave Matchroom and go to Top Rank, do business with them. Not necessarily Top Rank, as Tyson Fury, he can't actually enter into the United States, but perhaps Queensbury and BT, as that's where Tyson Fury is right now over there in the United Kingdom. So is Daniel Dubois, and so is Joe Joyce. All potential matchups for Alexander Usyk, though we know which one takes priority over the others. Is it possible that Usyk might end up leaving Matchroom for Queensbury Promotions? And in a situation where Anthony Joshua loses the second fight to Alexander Usyk, what is Matchroom prepared to do to keep him? What is Matchroom prepared to do to keep Alexander Usyk on their side of things so they can be the recipients of all of that content and those matches, to maintain their stronghold on this division? In spite of Usyk not being the same draw that Anthony Joshua is, he would still be this division's unified champion, and there is value in that. This is a very critical moment, not just for Anthony Joshua, but Matchroom and their future. Which promotional outfit, which platform ends up controlling most of the action in today's heavyweight division? There's a lot on the line here, but you don't need me to tell you that. And finally, A recent string of quotes from none other than Tyson Fury by way of Michael Benson. Tyson Fury said, there's 7 billion people in the world. Just think about that number. 7 billion people, and I'm the fucking heavyweight champion of the world. Number one, out of all those people, the biggest, fattest, baldest, ugliest motherfucker on the planet, that's me.
I don't doubt that Tyson Fury has some mental issues, some psychological ones.
When I hear self-deprecating quotes like this one, I wonder to myself, what does he hope to achieve by describing himself in such a fashion? Perhaps a window into his own mind? He said, I've been on the road for 13 years as a professional, went all over the world and fought the best fighters in the world. Americans, Africans, the Germans. I fought them all, and all of them fell. They all fall to the fat fucker from the north of England.
Fat fucker, there goes those self-deprecating quotes again.
Tyson Fury has said the Deontay Wilder trilogy fight prompted his decision to retire. I had lumps on the back of my head like fists. I was concussed. I don't remember anything. I was thinking, did I get put down 4 times? I think it's time I call it a day.
There he is, doubling down on retirement claims.
Remember, this is the guy who said he needs $500 million to come out of retirement. Those were his words. That's what he said. People say 1 more, 2 more. But if I was in a wheelchair and say I had 4 more fights, guys, and got brain damage, I'm the one getting punched in the head by these giant men. I mean it, people. I've had enough, and I don't want to fight no more.
Are you sure?
So come on, retirement. Fighting for free. Mr. Businessman, he's not a fighting man. And I swear to God, I hope he wins the fight against Usyk. So come on, retirement. Fighting for free.
Isn't this the same guy that said it would take $500 million to get him to come out of retirement?
However, the terms are this. We want it at Wembley Stadium. I want it free to enter.
Oh, now he wants to fight Anthony Joshua for free. I guess he doesn't want $500 million now.
And I want it free to air television in this country. Yeah! That's what I want. You heard it here first. And this is going to be in every newspaper tomorrow.
That's right. It will be in every newspaper tomorrow. It's already making headlines today.
Like when you said you're done with boxing and it would take $500 million for you to come out of retirement.
Remember those headlines?
And you heard it here first. And I mean what I say. I'm fighting for free in England. Brilliant. Not abroad in a foreign country for more money.
What's wrong with making money in a foreign country? Isn't that what you did with WWE in Saudi Arabia?
You think we forgot?
Here for free for the people.
Oh, he's doing it for the people, like the time that he donated his entire purse from the first Wilder fight to charity.
What charity was that, pray tell?
Well, Tyson Fury, he never actually said, though I think a charitable donation in the multi-millions surely would have grabbed people's attention if such a donation were actually made. But we all know that Tyson Fury didn't donate his entire purse to charity. That was an empty promise, the same way that this is an empty promise. And some people seem to think that because Tyson Fury can box a bit,
that he isn't a grifter and a con artist.
Some people seem to think that because Tyson Fury can box a bit, that he's not a fraud.
A fucking phony. A fake.
You know what he's doing? He knows Anthony Joshua is about to fight Alexander Yusuk for the 2nd time. He knows that this is the biggest, if not one of the biggest fights in boxing happening this year. And what he's doing is riding that wave, whilst he's retired, mind you.
Just because Tyson Fury can box a bit, that doesn't change that he's a fucking fraud.
But he's a spastic, pathological liar who's also a contrarian. He says one thing today and the exact opposite tomorrow. And a couple of idiots out there, they actually eat it up.
Maybe that's where that bit of self-loathing comes from for Tyson Fury, because he knows underneath it all he's a fraud.
And he's been a fraud for a long time, claiming that the nandrolone found in his system came from wild boar, only for Martin Carefoot, who corroborated his story.
Well, yeah, initially he corroborated Tyson Fury's story, only for him to come forward and state he doesn't even farm wild boar.
Not that I needed for Martin Carefoot to come forward to know that Tyson Fury's full of shit. I thought he was full of shit for a long time. He's a good boxer, don't get me wrong, but being a good boxer...
Like I said, just because you can box a bit, that doesn't change that you're a fucking phony.
Doesn't change it. Tyson Fury's a fucking fraud. The nandrolone didn't come from wild boar. You were using performance-enhancing drugs, and that's where the nandrolone came from. When you retired for 2 years, you didn't retire due to mental health issues. You retired because you were under investigation.
You cat was smoking you out.
Yes, your question. What kind of guy lies? about donating to a charity? His entire purse, the way that Tyson Fury claims to have donated his entire purse from the first Wilder fight to charity. What kind of Tyson lies about something like that? What kind of Tyson stands on stage in front of a lot of people and tells him he wants to fight Anthony Joshua for free when he just said it'll take $500 million to get him out of retirement? What kind of person?
I don't doubt that psychologically there might be something wrong with Tyson Fury.
But even if there is that supposed to be a get-out-of-jail-free card? Get-out-of-accountability card for Tyson Fury, who says one thing today and the exact opposite tomorrow. Is that what that's supposed to be? In this coddle-me era.
Tyson Fury says that he was depressed. Did that diagnosis come from an actual doctor?
Was there an actual clinical diagnosis outside of Google MD? Is he actually a depressive? Is he actually taking medication, or was he ever taking medication for that condition? Because he seems to.
Well, he gets a lot of sympathy for being down in the dumps and getting fat.
Should we assume that every fighter that balloons in weight between fights is suffering from depression?
Or are you just a fat fucking liar? A fat fucking phony?
Somebody's got to say it. Nobody in the media, the mainstream media, is going to bring it to Tyson Fury's attention that you literally said the exact opposite not but a week or so ago, that you were done with boxing, you're retired, it would take $500 million to get you out of retirement, so you can turn right around and say,
last week it'll take $500 million. This week you want to do it for free.
He's on stage calling Anthony Joshua a businessman while he's hawking merchandise, hawking his crappy energy drink.
So who's the businessman here?
Do you have another book coming out this year, Tyson Fury? How many are we up to now, 2?
Yeah. Tyson Fury can box, but that doesn't mean he's not a fraud.
You really have to wonder what the future holds, because if Alexander Usyk beats Anthony Joshua for a second time, well, there goes Fury's next meal ticket, and that's who he's talking about after all. He's talking about Anthony Joshua, not Alexander Usyk.
What are you going to chalk this up to? Fury selling a fight? I thought he was retired.
Still has Anthony Joshua's name in his mouth. Likely still has penis envy.
I don't hate Joshua. I don't dislike him. I like the guy. He's doing well, he's got a good body. I bet he's got a big cock and all. Probably I wish I had it, but who cares?